This is public comment. Oh, that's for public comment.
No, no.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the March 3rd meeting, Committee of the Whole meeting of Administration to order. We'll start with roll call. Johnson, here. Sherry Gieske.
Here.
Jonathan Van Laar. Ray Larson. Here. Steve Schabacher.
Here.
Ryan Curry.
Here.
Tom Wahlberg.
Here.
Bill Robertson.
Here.
Sherry Bartelt.
Here.
Rodney Riley.
Here.
Freddie De La Trinity.
Here.
Next, I'd ask for a motion to approve the agenda. I'm sorry, the minutes, not the agenda. Minutes from February 10th. Finance.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Curry, seconded by Mr. Larson. Any discussion? Ms. Easky?
Just one thing, let me see. It was in the discussion on page 6 of information items. It says that a request was 58,000 for the food bank. It was actually 50.
Okay.
18 to a 0 and we're in.
Okay. Perfect. Any other changes or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Accept a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Schabacher, seconded by Mr. Robertson. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Seen a notice from Mr. Wiltsey that he is asking to attend remotely.
And I am on the line.
Okay, so I would ask for a motion to approve that from Ms. Gieske, seconded by Mr. Robertson. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Yes.
I have discussed.
Ms. Bartel?
I have one question to ask Mr. Wiltsey. He seems to not be making county board meetings, but yet he can make a lot of record meeting. I would like to know the explanation as to why he can make one meeting and cannot make the other ones.
Yes, thank you. Let me say that the lot of record I made, here's what's happening. My sister is again set for surgery on March 9th. We are self-quarantining as much as possible, because she lives with me, to make sure she doesn't get COVID or a cold or the flu. The lot of record I made an exception to because there is PowerPoints that are presented by Izzy that are not in the other documents. And this one was one that I felt I should come to. And I did actually sit space separately from the other board members more than I did before, because Jonathan Van Laar wasn't there. So I sat in his chair and I wore a mask the whole time. So thank you for asking.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome, Mr. Wiltsey.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate your question.
Is there any public comment? You all should have gotten a letter or seen a letter on your desk when you came tonight. I asked that you take a look at that. It's from a homeowner along the business Route 20 that's going to be expanded, asking for our support and asking IDOT to rethink how they're doing that as far as putting a concrete divider down to limit their access in and out of their residences. Not just them, but anyone else who lives in that stretch. So you'd only be able to make right turns. So perhaps when the county engineer addresses us, he can even touch on that if he so desires.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to, when I was out getting signatures, I got this as well from one of the people that signed for me that lives out in that area too, because I had to share it. I meant to bring it up at the last meeting and I completely forgot about it. It was in my folder. So pretty much the same thing, just the concerns and issues that some of the residences have out there.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. And I guess we'll discuss that. Maybe we can discuss that more with Justin when he comes up. So just want to make sure you were aware of it and have it on the record that he did. That was Jerry DeLayden, I'm assuming is his last name.
Looks like it.
So any other public comment? No emails? Mr. Curry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moving on to monthly presentation. County Sheriff, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Keep it short so we can give Justin a little extra time for those questions. Pretty average month for February. Unfortunately, did have one fatality up on Hunter Road. So accident has been a concern for us, and you hear me talk about it quite often. Time report, it's patrol. We're about 1% over budget. Dispatch, we're about 15% over budget where we should be. And corrections is about 18% over where we should be. A little bit concerning, but really it's really because of lack of personnel. We're currently 4 down on the road and 3 down, soon to be 5 down in dispatch, 4 down in corrections, and we have a maintenance opening. So we are terribly struggling with hiring people. For an example, we advertised locally and on social media for maintenance department, and we didn't get one single applicant. So, which is unusual. In the past, we would have got, 40 applicants for something like that. So, Steve and Bill, we do have openings. I know you retired guys, we could sure use some help. So consider that when you talk to the wives. So
Here you go, Bill. No way.
Dispatch and now we have a records opening. We have a return tomorrow. It's a national average for every profession, but it seems to be hitting us pretty hard. So it is very concerning. So hopefully we can fill some of these positions soon. We were excited last month, as I told you, about hiring the 2 deputies that we had waited 2 years for to finally get into the police academy. Unfortunately, one of those officers resigned 4 weeks into it. Too much liability, didn't feel comfortable. Apparently it was a surprise what law enforcement was all about when he took the job, but it's very unfortunate, but we lost a position, which is a killer. We waited 2 years for that spot. So very, very frustrating with that, to say the least, but we have one officer down there that's doing absolutely fantastic. So we'll be happy to get him back. The jail has been insanely busy with all the things that we got going on back there. With all these grants, we've received multiple grants through the health department, to our coalition. Boone County Jail this week actually we got our license as for a treatment center, which is actually a really big deal for corrections. Not too many corrections facilities even have that. Again, this all goes along with the grants and the partnership with really for drug abuse and mental illness. We partnered up with Rosecrans and the whole coalition with the health department. We're really excited about that. Medication assistance program will also play a big part of that. So we're just trying to do something different. Sending people to prison forever isn't working. Well, one, prison isn't taking anybody. So let's try a different approach and try to keep these people out to begin with and not have so many return customers. That seems to be the issue when it comes to substance abuse and mental illness is just off the chart. I've never seen it this bad before. Lastly, possibly at the next county board meeting or in a future county board meeting, I want to recognize 4 correctional officers. We had 3 that actually saved an inmate's life, performed life-saving measures on this individual after she attempted to drown herself in the toilet. I guess that can be done. But again, this mental illness is killing us. Guys actually did CPR and really saved her. So then I also want to recognize another officer. Our jail nurse was actually attacked back in the jail. Oh, God. Again, another mental illness subject. So we had a correctional officer back there with her who instantly intervened and was able to, the nurse didn't receive any injuries at all. And the person had a pen that when our nurse got attacked. Our nurse back there is absolutely fantastic. She can handle herself too. But that's just kind of where we're headed. With that, keep it as short as possible. So is there any questions or concerns? I'm more than happy to answer them. Or if anybody's interested in any of the jobs that we have, I definitely take that up too.
Mr. Schwacher?
Yeah. I hope this is not too hard a question. You're trying to get some help there, maintenance and so on. Has wages been an issue? I don't know if that's say that here, but I'm just kind of curious if that could be answered. If you feel that wages, I know, I will say this, when I was the head of the building department many years ago, I did have phone calls when I told them what the wages were here. They were very polite, but they weren't interested. So I had personal experience with that as a department head for the county. I don't know if that's somewhat, could be somewhat of the issue today or not, but I just want to know your thoughts if it's okay to ask.
It is totally the main issue. What's happened over time, and we have 4 contracts that are coming up at the end of this year that we'll have to really look at much more of that starting wage.
Yes.
You know, as time goes along, you're like anywhere, your top continues to grow quicker than your bottom. And what's happened is that gap has actually spread more than ever. You'll make more at McDonald's than you will as a records clerk for Boone County. I'm sorry, did you have a question?
Wait your turn.
See that?
So that's a big issue. In our maintenance guide, the same, what we're asking for, you know, if you see the resume that we're looking for, you know, really just preferred. When you're starting at $16 and $17 an hour, it's just, we're just not gonna get in place.
Yeah, so that makes it very, very difficult for you as running that department to bring in people. They don't have at least some kind of a wage that's competitive, so.
Especially our non-sworn, you know, we're having a whole different issue when it comes to police. That's a totally different issue. The starting wage is not bad, although all over the country, those prices are going through the roof.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah.
Trying to get people.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions for the sheriff? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next up is Highway Department, Justin.
Thank you. So on board docs, I've got the summary from our department. First item I want to touch on real briefly is the roads that we plan on doing this coming summer. They're in the process of getting approved by IDOT, but what I submitted out there is what our plan is. We've got about 18 roads for asphalt, 7 seal coat, which is substantially lower than what we had previous. It's more in line with what we typically have, but it's substantially lower than last year. Last year, we did a lot of projects based on, we anticipated that might be our last year of real cheap asphalt prices, which is likely to play true. So this year will be in line or perhaps a little bit lower than what we have done in the past. But so those are out there with a map that's attached on that sheet. Item number 2, just want to correct that. I put 2023 in there by air. So that would be 2022. IDOT plans on doing the culverts 76 in Capron. And that is pre-work before they resurface 173, which will come up within the next 5 years. That will be redone. Number 3 is the winter wrap-up. I just wanted to, mention that we'll probably have a big snowstorm now that I'm mentioning winter wrap-up. But we're under budget with our, unlike the police department, it sounds like, or the sheriff's department. We're under budget with our plowing, which is good. And I just want to remind everybody too that still, we have overtime for going out and handling down trees, signs that are hit, other, things that pop up. So we still expect this some overtime, but it's a very minimal, and we're on track to be well under budget for the year. And we do have our springtime weight postings out there. So if you are on rural roads, you'll see the signs that are up. Just want to remind everybody again, we are the county highway system. This will be our first year that we, normally I come in front of you tonight and I'll have a posting resolution to apply to our roads, but we don't have to do that going forward here. And that's through, ongoing efforts to improve the roads. Item number 4 is one that we talked about last month. That's regarding the TARP funding for Irene Road. I brought that up more or less as a informational item, and also the township is asking for funds for the county to participate in that. That request is still out there, but we've got a lot of moving values in there as was brought up last week. And so I have informally talked to IDOT about kicking that back a year. And also, that would help with if there's any other large projects that might be along Irene Road or using that road, that should help reduce any restrictions for any impacts, economic impacts. So yeah, that is looking like IDOT will to delay that project for a year. So that gives us time for different things. So that's my list of items. In the second page is the all of the it's a roadmap of all the different projects on there. I will, we can discuss IDOT. I do want to just mention, the letter that came through. Admin did pass that along. I had a chance to review that. That isn't the only communications I got with from residents on that subject. So there's been multiple residents that have called or sent letters discussing primarily the access, limited access. And so what IDOT is doing is, so currently you have one lane in each direction with all unrestricted access for the most part. What their plan is to add an additional lane in both directions with a raised center median to reduce access. And then on top of that, the speed limit currently is 55 posted. It'll go down to a 45 posted speed limit. So there's a few things that are happening out there that a lot of residents have responded negatively towards. And I did pass those on to IDOT on a couple of different occasions. And we are, there is a meeting set up with myself and the project manager and the geometrics manager at IDOT later this month. So I will be meeting with them on these items specifically. So it primarily focuses around the restricted access, speed limit, and there's been a lot of concern with increased runoff. You're basically doubling the pavement out there. So if anybody has any drainage or storm water situations, those theoretically would be amplified. So that's the third biggest residential complaint that I received. I actually threw the 4th item in there of the intersection of Town Hall Road and 20, requesting that be evaluated for future conditions. So that's kind of a summary of the IDOT.
Any questions for Justin?
Is it possible to address that issue? The concern of the barrier?
So my response that I got from IDOT is their hands are tied based on standards, IDOT standards based on their projected traffic. I believe it was 2040 or 2050 that they're projecting traffic to. So they're building this road for, a targeted date in the future. And based on that and safety criteria, they're putting that raised median in. So, so the answer to your question is, there's many cases where they deviate from standards. So I've seen that on many different cases. Whether that'll happen in this case or not, I don't know. But, certainly, those talks have begun. And, if the board is supportive or wants to take a next step, I can certainly help either craft a letter myself and do something more formal, or or craft a resolution from the board, or I'd be happy to do any of those kind of things. I think there's going to be, I'm hopeful that there will be some additional information coming out of this meeting, directly talking about these items between IDOT and myself. But I suspect that they're not going to change with the meeting alone. It might take some additional pressures.
Chairman?
I would like to see this board support that idea of putting some pressure on IDOT in any way we can to alleviate some of those issues. It makes no sense to me. You go from Rockford to Belvedere right now, and that's all 4-lane. There's no median. It's 55. But suddenly when we get into Boone County, now we have to slow the speed down. Maybe when you cross the county line, we don't know how to drive, or the horses we ride might get scared or something like that. I don't know. So I've heard a lot of that before, and it makes no sense to me. So I'd like to see us put any pressure we can on them.
I agree. If I may say, with that 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, you can do 55 when you go into Winnebago. I would hope that could be a reason to say that, hey, if we do that 45-mile-an-hour, wouldn't it make it safer than what our neighbor has? But, I agree.
Sherry?
Well, I think most of the question I was going to ask has sort of been asked, but you said you typically don't do this, but you have seen them change. Any hints or clues on what we could do to perpetuate that?
Yeah, and I think we're taking the first step right now with having a meeting with IDOT, and this is the right time. We're doing this at the right time. So now is the time to change this. So it's going to get more and more difficult to change this as months go on. But I think we are on that path. I would say that after this meeting, actually before this meeting, I can have a template resolution crafted and ready to go. And then I suggest maybe we wait till after the meeting and see, and then immediately after that, based on that outcome, we can formally that and discuss it. One other thing I wanted to mention is, just lost my train of thought.
Well, let me do a follow-up and maybe
Okay.
come back. So does, you will take all of these letters or things that have come to you to that meeting to make sure they understand that these people have lived there for how long and so on and so forth. Does that have any, now I realize they're all bureaucrats, but does this have any potential sway to the decision? Because this is pretty serious, I think.
Yes, in fact, whenever a resident contacts me, I immediately notify them that this is a IDOT jurisdiction, and I said that I'm thankful that you gave me this information, this letter, but please also send it down to IDOT. Okay. And then I also recommend that they contact local and state officials as well. So yeah.
Good.
That's kind of in process, and I would say that we'll keep working towards that, and I will have something in the hopper ready to go after this meeting.
Thank you.
I guess I have a question for you, Justin, or a comment. I guess I don't understand the point. Like, is this roundabout 2.0 where they get a kicker for median they throw down on highway? Or because if I was thinking to myself, is this something that they predict is going to be a built up area in the future by 2040 or 2050 where there'll be business along that corridor, which I'm assuming they want because that's connecting to cities. But then you go into cities that are 4 lanes that are 45 miles an hour and there's no medians there. This has to create an obstacle for emergency vehicles as well. Have to get on both sides. So I guess I don't understand the point.
Yep, I did bring this up to the EMS at the last Dan Zachert's meeting. The group of emergency managements. I did bring this up that it is going to be a restricted. Theoretically they can cross this. It is a it is a crossable for emergency vehicles, but it still provides a somewhat of a barrier. The driving factor from IDOT is always safety, and they take, so you got typically you got whenever you look at roadway systems, you have mobility, access mobility, and you have efficiency and safety. So as you like I-90, for example, there's very limited access on I-90 and you have high mobility. So, generally speaking, those things are inversely related. So their theory on this section of roadway is that, they want to increase mobility by decreasing access. And that's their basic premise behind all of this. And of course, reducing safety as well. But okay, I got my train of thought back. So my biggest concern on all of this is our local road system. My biggest concern is that, so when they reduce this to 45 miles per hour, reduce access and put signals. And the other thing is there's gonna be multiple signals on there at each intersection.
Yeah, every single one, right?
Yep, there's gonna be, it was every single one except for Anderson Drive to the south. And then also there wasn't any signals at Town Hall Drive or Road. So otherwise there was, 3 or 4 additional signals being placed in there. So they're reducing it from 55 down to 45 and placing these signals. What I'm seeing, what I'm projecting is going to happen, and this is what I brought up, and this is my biggest concern out of everything, is that, a lot of the traffic is going to get pushed over to the local township road, Squaw Prairie, for example. So now people are going to start flying down Squaw Prairie and those intersections, and we've all seen what happens when, volumes increases, and you have a stopped intersection and so it's, that's my biggest concern. The roadway system, these major arterials and major roadways are intended to move people, and as you start to put those restrictions both through signals and speed, now, gosh, a guy is going to be like, well, why do I travel on this road for 45 when I go over to Squaw Prairie at 45? And I've got stop signs where I know I can, slow down at those and fly through them where a signal, and so that is my concern out of all this, is that the pressure that's going to get put onto the local system.
Okay. Any other questions for Justin in the boardroom or on telephone?
I have a comment.
Shoot.
This is Dave Wiltsey. I have a comment.
Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, I'm sorry. Going up to Fort Atkins, I do to Fort Atkins in Wisconsin. 26 is a 4-lane minimal access road, but the nature of the area up there is that there's got to have some ability of the county roads to come through or come across. As you well know, Justin, you can do mountable mediums, and I wonder if there can be any modification at certain points to bring the medium down somewhat to a level that the traffic can cross it. So I agree that we should try to work with them to try to review this plan, and any support I can give to that extent, I would be happy to do so.
And I guess one response, that I did receive from IDOT that I didn't mention yet is that we have worked towards that, and they said their response back is that the reason that the median is at the elevation that it is because they are restricted by the right-of-way limits. So the both lanes, eastbound and westbound lanes, are tighter than they would need to be in order to have a lowered median. Again, I don't know, how close we are to those limits, and that's something that hopefully will come out of this meeting if we can make some adjustments like you had mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you, Justin.
Thanks, Justin.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sherry.
Yeah, Dave just brought up Highway 26 up in Wisconsin, up by Fort Atkinson. That's a freeway up through there, and the roads that cross up there are all done on bridges. And I don't know if we would have room down here to do bridges. That way their county roads never stop, because I travel that road a lot. So, they do have their county roads, their state roads and everything, our bridges across 26. I don't know if we have enough room for the roads that are going to be across there. We have enough room to do a bridge or something like that. I don't, you know
Mr.
what Stretch
Chairman,
is
when I-
talking about up
thank you.
there?
I am, and I appreciate all the information. I will, bring this down to me to IDOT when I talk to them. This is all good information.
Yeah, a lot of the intersections I'm talking about are not bridged. They're access roads local at the same level.
Okay, any other comments?
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you. Thanks for taking care of your budget for us, Justin. We appreciate that. Maybe you could work with the sheriff when you get a chance.
I knew
I'm
that,
looking for some new people, so that'd be good.
I knew that was coming.
Section 7, quarterly department presentations. Start with assessments. Jessica? Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to keep it really simple. In my report, I outlined that we got our final equalization factor in February, earlier, more than a month and a half earlier than we did last year. The nature of our work being cyclical, the sooner that we can complete each function and move to the next phase makes the process more, it moves more smoothly and we're able to get better numbers. So as a result of us getting our final equalization factor in February, we received this week the sales ratio detail from the state of Illinois Department of Revenue. And we're able to make predictions on how the states will be measuring our work in 2022 based on their analysis of 2021. And because we got that information now, it'll make our turning in our 2022 assessments, creating and turning in our 2022 assessments back to the Department of Revenue even more seamless. In the property tax code, statutorily, they require that to happen in June 15th, but this county has never delivered our assessments to the township assessors have never delivered their books to the county by June 15th because it's not. There's just never been enough time, but we're working on, with steps we've taken in the last year, we've gotten our cycle to the point where maybe for the first time potentially in 20 years or more, we'll have statutorily put our books on the schedule that is outlined in the property tax code. And so I'm pretty proud of that. Even the software change that we're going through, which has been bumpy and complicated as any kind of software conversion is, even with that in the background, I don't foresee our values or these advances and these accomplishments to be, we're not going to go backwards. We're still going to go forward. We're still going to keep that cycle on track and finish up our values on that schedule that I've outlined. Also, because we turned in our final abstract to the Department of Revenue January 5th, because we completed the Board of Review activity before Christmas, that was that's each piece leads to the next piece. We already know how many of those appeals have filed onto the state for further review, and we this year have less than half that we had last year. Last year, as a result of the 2021 or the 2020 Board of Review, it was, I think there were 23 appeals that went on to the State of Illinois Property Tax Appeal Board, and this year it's 7, I think. So that's also pretty something, that's good. That's good work. That's us doing good work. So that's all. Yeah, I guess that's all I got. It looks great across the hall, and morale has been really high because the assessment office just looks really great. Anybody who hasn't seen it should come by and take a look.
Awesome.
Any questions?
Any questions for Jessica in the boardroom or on the phone?
Good job.
All right, you guys. Have a great
Thank you. 7.2 County Clerk and Recorder. Julie?
Dreaded packets.
Ready to go paper.
Yes, the dreaded yellow paper.
Thank you.
Is that the new one?
It's the new one, yes.
Thanks. Thank you.
Just one more time. Just one more time.
Do I have to file 2 of these?
Yes, well, no, I'll go over that with you. Thank you. Okay, good evening. I feel like I haven't gotten to address you for a while, so. So what I just passed out to you is the yellow statement of economic interest form. As you've already heard or have already seen, all of the questions are different this year. I'll give you a little bit of legislative background on why they are different. Last spring, Public Act 102-0662 was passed. And this, I'm sorry, 0664 and 0662 both passed. One passed in the spring in an ethics bill, and this version of the statement of economic interest form passed in the energy bill. So this was not really on anybody's radar, including the Secretary of State. When we did find out last November, I contacted the index department at the Secretary of State to get an idea of what exactly we needed to do, because normally the Secretary of State would provide us with these and then we just make copies. So they were not going to be doing that any longer. So each county was left up to put these together in a format for you. So all of the 7 questions that you see on there are very different. What I've also given to you in your packet is a sheet that has definitions and tells you an idea of what's included and what's not. So this came directly from the statute as well. So hopefully that will help you get a little bit more guidance when you're filling these out. If you hold more than one office, for example, I have my office plus I'm on the Ethics Commission, you can combine your offices on this one sheet. You don't have to keep filling multiple out unless you're a candidate, and then you do have to file a separate one. As a candidate, you're going to get a receipt for when you file this to put with your paperwork when you file. So you do have to fill out more than one if you are a candidate. I have given these out to all the township clerks, the municipal clerks. They're all passing them out to have their discussions. The Township Officials of Illinois is actually doing a webinar for all of the townships, which I think is fantastic because they're kind of going to give them some guidance. But I also, at the end of the day today, received a UCCI email, and it was regarding this. It does have some information for you in that, but it also says if you have other questions, to please contact them. So my office, this is the extent of what I can do to help you with this. There's a lot of legal questions on here that my office is not able to help you with. We are not attorneys, so you need to make sure that you do contact an attorney or your accountant or UCCI to kind of get a little bit more direction on how to complete these. I'm sure we'll have many come in who want to look at last year's, and it won't do you any good because they're just all different. So, does anybody have any questions right now about that?
I'm still definitely going to come in and look at last year's. Any questions for Julie? Mr. Riley?
For candidates, and I've been getting calls on this, does this have to be turned, this has to be turned in with their petition packets when they come in to turn them in, or is there a time frame that they can get it done?
Yeah, when they come in to file, if they have not brought that with them or filed it yet with the receipt, then they have until 5 o'clock on the 14th to put that with their paperwork.
So an extra week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. And the only candidates who have to fill this out, any of the county offices, any of the county board offices, precinct committeemen do not have to turn this in with their paperwork.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Julie? Jerry?
So this, please complete this form. So this has to be completed and attached to the petitions that are being submitted.
That is for you to complete as a county board member to be turning in as a county board member.
Okay, so that's a separate and distinct.
Correct,
So,
yes.
okay.
And by statute, you are required to do that. And in the letter that I have attached, it does explain the penalties if you don't. My office's role in this is to make sure that I give these to you and to have you file them with me, and I keep them filed. They aren't, in 5 years, I have not had anybody from the state request to view these. I've had one FOIA request to view one person's economic interest for a certain time frame, and I've had one other person request to get copies of the ones that they turned in over the years. So that's all I've had actually take a look at these, other than if you're a candidate.
But sure.
Any rational thought process that got us to this? Because this is totally irrational. It's invasive.
It was in an energy bill.
I know it was in an energy bill. I read the energy and I found it in there. Yes, I know that.
That lends to the irrationality.
Right. Okay. That's, I guess, why I said that. And so what I'm hearing is, once again, this is getting rammed down our throats, and we have a hell of a time getting anybody to volunteer for these positions. So this just makes it even worse.
It absolutely does. And clerks across the state, in the position that I have on the board of the association now, and then also in my legislative role, we've had a number of conversations amongst ourselves with clerks and recorders, because we're the contact person for this.
You're the face of the issue.
We are the face of the SEIs, and that's we totally get it. I mean, we have to fill them out ourselves.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And my best response, I guess, would be to contact the legislators who passed this and ask them what their intent was. From what we've understood, there's clearly issues that they've had with ethics, and that's why they've determined that these are the questions that need to be answered.
So I'm going to just count on me to be snarky. I would say, I think we probably all know why this passed, because our legislators didn't read the damn thing. And here it is sitting here. So my final question is, so if we choose not to fill this out, resigning would take care of that? Because it says here, failure to do so will result in forfeiture of office. So you don't want to fill this out, you can resign from the board. Right?
That is the final penalty, is where you would lose your position. And yes, that is something.
Can't lose your position if you give it up.
Or if you let them know what your assets are and your social security number and them.
Yeah, well, that ain't gonna happen.
But take a look at the definitions, because I have done mine, and there are a lot of things that are excluded that when you read the initial question, if you haven't read that, there really are a lot of things that are excluded. There are things that aren't. There are things that people are going to have to put down. When you do own a lot of different properties and different things like that, that is something that you're going to have to. Your normal stocks and bonds, no, you're not going to have to do that. You don't have to divulge your retirement fund. There are several things that people assume you do have to put on that really you don't.
Go ahead, Sherry.
Well, I absolutely appreciate you saying that, Julie. I'm sorry, that is not the issue. The issue is that why do we have to go through and twist ourselves in a pretzel, hire an attorney and do all this? This is the most, I mean, I had lunch with some friends a week or so ago that a friend of mine lives in Buffalo Grove, and she's telling me that she thinks that our governor has put some really good policies in place. Our friendship came close to ending at that point. It wasn't nearly as snarky, but this is just another example of the insanity that's going on. I mean, this is just insane. I've never seen anything so insane. But I think I'm the angriest at our legislators because they don't read anything. They just collect the funds, pay them, and here we are.
And to that comment, I will tell you that I believe it was one of these were, I think it was the first one, the 0662. I believe that was actually vetoed by the governor, and then the other one was pushed through.
I don't care, Julie, I'm not giving them credit.
No, that lends to your point.
You're lovely for saying that.
No, that lends to your point, is that he vetoed it, but then suddenly now we have one that was passed that he signed that had the 7 questions.
And don't think for a second he didn't know it was buried in there, but all right.
Oh, no, I'm sure he did.
Sometimes it's pushed through and the the last that 3 in the
Sure.
morning where legislators aren't given ample time to read a 1,000-page.
Well, they took that playbook from Washington.
True.
So, yeah.
I don't disagree with it at all. They just don't get the chance to read through it. And it's worked up full of all kinds of crazy stuff.
And to that also comment, I'm your choir.
But Julie, you know,
I do.
you know, none of my comments are to you. My heart
No, I
goes
know.
out to you, but this is, I'm telling you, you know, things get dumber and more insane every single minute.
Yes. So while we're on that.
Oh, insanity.
Let's go to elections.
I'm
So
sorry, Brian, I'm
Monday
sorry.
is the beginning of the filing period for the primary. Our office opens at 8:30 in the morning. My normal procedures for that, in anticipation of people lining up outside my door, will be that at 8:30, the door will open. I will send one of my staff members out to mark that time. So anybody else who comes in line afterwards will not have the time of 8:30. Anybody standing in line when the door opens will have the time of 8:30, which also lends to if there's somebody that's running for the same position that comes in at that time, we will be holding a lottery then to determine ballot order. I've already got that date set. I will give that information on that day to you so you are aware of that day. I'm pretty sure it's March 17th at 9 a.m., but I'll give that to you on that day. But the point of that then is to let you know exactly how it will go. I will have 2 stations set up to receive your paperwork. Please come with it completed. If it needs to be notarized, that is not considered completed and you will go back to, I'll still keep you at that 8:30 time, but you're going to go back to the line, the people who have come in prepared and everything is completed, then we will handle those first. So please make sure that you do that. The second thing, when it comes to the elections, we will be 5 o'clock, the 14th is the deadline for that. Then the objection process starts after that where people can view each other's petitions. We will be scanning everything in. If you choose to view these petitions, I need to have something in writing from you. It can be an email. I will have a little form out front if you want to view them in person. If you do come into the office to view them, you will have to sit with one of my deputies while you do that. You're welcome to do that. If I scan them in as they come in, then if you want to have them emailed to you, then you have it at your leisure to take a look at the petitions. So the objection period will start that week. And then we'll go from there. We are already in full-blown election mode. We're already working on different things. I did need to, the laws changed where we did have to have a voting booth that is accessible in every location. So I have made a purchase of that. You will see that on the claims this next couple months. Hoping that some grant money will be available to cover those. I do have 2 other grants that will be coming into fruition, which will cover some of our physical and cybersecurity issues. We don't have many. We've had 2 different evaluations. We had a cybersecurity navigator who worked with our IT to determine the level that we're at and what needs to be done. Our IT, I'm telling you, top notch. They are fantastic. There are very few things that that navigator was able to tell them that they really needed to do. So they really are very good. The second thing, we had a physical walkthrough with a gentleman from the Department of Homeland Security. He made some recommendations and a few things that we needed to do. So a couple of things, we did have to add a few more cameras. So we do have one up in that corner up there because this is also used as a polling location on election day. We have one that's in the back hallway now, and then we have a second one out front to capture more of the parking lot. The other one is really directed towards the ballot box. So my security grant funding covers the cost of those things. So we have already been preparing quite a bit for elections. The other thing I wanted to mention to you too is you should have received an email from me today. This is in regards to setting a judicial fee. Right now, the legislation has passed in the Senate. It has not yet passed in the House. It only covers 3 counties. So this judicial fee can be set in place for if you at some point decide to build new judicial facilities. May not be something obviously that we're doing anytime soon, but you also may not want to miss out on this opportunity to be listed as one of those counties. I wanted to make sure I sent that to you. Senator Sally Turner is a former clerk and recorder, and I work with her through the legislative committee. So she has sent that on also. I have hired 2 people. I had one retire. A longtime employee has retired after 20 years. So that was fantastic. The 2 started, one started last week, one started this week. Both Belvedere ladies, and it's fantastic to see their enthusiasm. The dynamic in my office has changed considerably. It's really, really an awesome thing to see. And what's great is they both know people that are coming in my door. So that provides a certain comfort level for people who are coming into my office for things. And it also provides, a friendliness that also reflects on the county. So I think that's really exciting. So they've started already, and it's nice to see them both training at the same time because they're kind of feeding off of each other to get a good direction and to learn a lot of different things in a short amount of period of time. They will be cross-training in all areas. So that's the other thing that's kind of cool about that. March 24th, I am hosting the County Clerk and Recorder Zone meeting for Zone 4. We will be hosting that at the Funderburg Museum. So that will be the Funderburg House. So that will be really cool too. I usually try and host that once a year to bring people into Boone County. And then I try and showcase different things about the county too. Tax extension is starting as well. So there will be some interesting things coming out of that, I'm sure. So we have that wrapped up. I don't see why at this point we won't have tax bills out on time. If there's any unforeseen circumstances. We have a lot going on, if you can't tell. I'm going to stop talking now, as I could go on for a long time, and I know my fellow department heads would like me to wrap it up. Anybody have any other questions?
Question for Julie. Any questions for Julie on the phone?
Comment.
Go ahead, Dave Wiltsey.
Yeah, the statement of economic interest, I've been filling those out for more than 30 years. And of course, this one's way different. But as a lawyer, and I don't have what you are handing out tonight, Julie, but what I did on question 1, for example, list an asset worth more than $10,000. I simply listed the bank. I didn't list the amount. And I think that may qualify. But I'll take a look at what you put on the desk of everyone else and get back to you.
Mr. Wiltsey, I can email that to you as well.
Thank you.
So that's stating that if we have more than $10,000 in a bank account, you have to
Read the definitions.
Oh yeah, all I did was just put the name of the bank and say IRA or savings.
your checking account and
You
routing
didn't have
number.
to say what it was, just name of the institution. That's what I did.
If you read this, it also says assets do not include
Yeah.
personal vehicles, savings, checking accounts, et cetera.
Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Mr. Riley.
Julie, is this the one that you handed us out tonight, is this any different than the one that you handed out with the candidates package?
No, that's,
It's the same. Thank you.
Go ahead, Sherry.
We're sitting here and this isn't our first rodeo, but people that are thinking of running, has anyone, let me go on record and say, I would say the hell of it. If I was handed this, if I'm supposed to run, I'd say, forget it. Thank you for doing this. Why do we need single space? I think this is probably an 11 font to fill out a form. That heretofore, for like Dave said, 30 years, I've been doing it for damn near that much too. So
And if you will notice, on the ones that you've always had in the past, the last section on the back was always where you would sign and we'd snip that off and give it to you as a receipt. There was so much information that we had to put on this. I don't have room for that. I have a separate receipt to give to you.
So my question is, has anyone that is potentially a potential candidate, is there anybody explaining this to them, or do they get this same sheet that we got? The one you did with the explanations
We
and the
did not
definitions?
have that sheet yet when we initially handed out the packets. I have not had, and we've passed out a lot of packets. I actually am kind of surprised by how many people are willing to still run, but we'll see who files. So that can make a difference. But yes, we did not have that sheet at that time, so I didn't put them with the packets. We have them in our office if anybody requests it. So if there is a candidate that's maybe making comments to you or will make a comment to me, then I will gladly put that up, and I'll put that on our website as well.
Any other questions for Julie? Go ahead, Mr. Riley.
One more comment to what Sherry keeps talking about, and I told her, but unfortunately, this is just a comment. You know, Illinois, we put ourselves in this position.
Absolutely.
We are in this position because of the people that we have. So I guess, in my opinion, if answering one of these questions, yes, they're somewhat intrusive, but if it makes somebody that's a dishonest double think whether they want to get involved in it, then more power to it, because I think that's the root of our problem here in Illinois. It goes from this capital right down to our local county and city. This is transparency at work, and I don't agree with a lot of the questions that are on it, but I understand why they're asking them. So
Interesting timing when it passed and who
I know.
left.
I know, yeah.
He's being indicted again today.
Did he?
He did, yeah.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. You know, I just recently read an article that the IRS is 2 years behind. 2 years behind in following up. I mean, people have sent letters and checks and everything else to the IRS. The IRS is 2 years behind in processing this stuff, you know, and then people, you know, in Washington start screaming about, well, there's all this money that we should be getting from taxpayers and let's hire another 50,000 employees for the IRS. The system is broken. And now we start down this, and Rodney, you're acquiescing a whole lot more than I would like to, because if somebody is misbehaving, go after them. Don't go after the rest of us, for God's sake.
I agree. That's where we're at.
Well, but we do have choices, still a little bit.
Go ahead, Sherry.
Julie, we don't have to wait until the 14th to turn everything in, do we? We can turn in before then.
Right, filing starts March 7th, so Monday.
Anytime after that, we don't have to wait till that last day like an idiot trying to get it done.
Right, you file starting 8:30 Monday morning on the 7th, and then you have until 5 o'clock on the 14th.
And as far as the IRS goes, I already did my taxes this year. I turned them in on the 8th, and I got my refund back on the 18th. I don't know if I'm an exception or
Getting a refund. Good for you getting a refund. I write checks, so I don't jump on it right away.
Any other questions for Julie?
I know how to play the game.
Thank you so much for all your.
Thank you, Julie.
Becky?
Everybody. So I have February's report. We're pretty much on track, the same as we were last year. The only thing I want to point out is you can see our total calls for this year is 114. Last year it was 117. But I wanted to point out that our total autopsies for the year were 18. Last year we had only done 5. So I don't know if there's any, that just means we've had more unnatural type of deaths. And I don't know if there's any particular thing that's trending, except as the sheriff mentioned, we are having a lot of fatal car accidents. And I think that's what's pushing those numbers up. So hopefully that trend does not continue, but if it does, the pathologist fees is probably one of the biggest expenditures out of my office. So we could have a budget issue at some time down the line if that continues. We had 33 calls, 31, well, actually the other was also a death investigation, and then 1 notification. And then our total collected for the month was $1,950, so our total fees collected for the year is $3,750. Anybody's got any questions about anything?
Any questions in the boardroom or on the phone? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're fine. All right, moving right along, I had spoken with Amanda, and she is provided a packet, but will not be speaking tonight. Item 7.5, Animal Services, Rick. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Hi, Rick. Good evening.
In the first quarter, we brought in $61,000. Our non-personnel expenditures were $12,800. Personnel expenditures or payrolls, $37,700, netting us about $10,000. Our income is down this year from last year by about $25,000 for this time of year. I'm not sure why. Going back to 2020, we're similar numbers to where we're at now. I'm not sure if this is still COVID related or not. We hear people talk about COVID as an excuse when we bring up their registrations. People are still using that as an excuse. However, COVID was here last year and we were making more money then. On the plus side, our letter campaign, registration reminders that Kelly sends out every week continues to bring in a decent amount of revenue for a small investment in postage stamps. We're recouping a lot of money that way. In the first quarter, we brought in over $2,000 that are directly attributed to those letters that went out. So these are people that wouldn't have otherwise gotten their animals registered. So a lot of continued success there. We brought in 22 dogs in the first quarter and 15 of them went back to their owners. So that's good. Almost 75% of them went back home, which is a nice turnaround from the warmer months where a lot of them end up staying with us for long periods of time. We did send 3 of them to rescue groups and 1 of them is still available for adoption. We brought in 5 cats. They all came from the same place. Their owner went to assisted living and 4 of the 5 have been adopted out. Amanda adopted 1 of them and 3 of them were adopted by other folks. And the lady that adopted 1 most recently felt that the one that she adopted needed a mate. Not a mate, they're both females, I guess, but somebody to hang out with. So she's actually going to come back tomorrow, the last of those 5. So, you guys able to get the pictures of the animals up?
Oh, yeah.
So we had Prissy. I've talked about her here before. Probably the last 2 times I've been up here, we talked about her. She was there for so long. She came in on September 23rd. So we're talking about a pretty good long while.
Oh.
And she just got adopted on February 1st. If you flip to the next picture, there's a.
It's the same.
I think it says
It's the same one. It's the wrong one that got uploaded.
Okay. Well, I had a picture of her sitting on a couch at her new house, enjoying the life of a house dog. So she got a home finally. And we still have Robin and Sparrow. I don't know if I've talked about them here before or not. If not, these 2 have similar situations to the other cats I had mentioned before. Their owner actually passed away and there wasn't any family available to take these cats. So they ended up with us. And we've had them since June 15th. They weren't real socialized. They had lived with their owner, an elderly lady, for their entire lives and hadn't been around anybody else. And so they didn't tolerate us or really anybody for the first 2 or 3 months, but we spent a lot of time working with them and they've come out of their shells. They're ready for a house. So if any of you, or if you know anybody that's looking for a bonded pair of cats, where they are, they'd love a house. I'd bring them to mine, except I already have 5. I now have more animals than children, and I had a lot of kids to begin with. They really are great cats. So
cute.
Keep them in mind. They're on our Facebook page. If you haven't, find one of the posts, Robin and Sparrow, share it with all of your friends and family, and I hope.
Sheriff, you're going to have some more time coming up here soon. Maybe you could, add to the family.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe we could do it as a
Going away?
retirement present.
Yeah, going away gift.
I'll make that motion.
For whatever it's worth, I think if when the right person shows up, I don't think they'll actually have to pay anything. I think somebody's already sponsored half of the adoption fee, and one of us will pay the other one for them. But we're not announcing that because we want people that are genuinely interested in giving these 2 cats the home that they deserve, and they'll just be pleasantly surprised to find out that they won't have to pay the adoption fee themselves.
We're not in closed session, Rick.
And lastly, at the beginning, Mr. Curry said, welcome back. So if you didn't know, I went to Europe the last couple of weeks of January and the first week of February. And prior to going away, I had met with Mr. Catlin and Mr. Street and discussed how to deal with field services aspect of what we do while I was going to be away, because our part-timer ghosted us a couple of weeks before I left. And so the other person that was supposed to share Lisa's job with her decided he didn't want to come back after an unannounced break. And so while Mr. Kale and Mr. Street and I were brainstorming, the idea came up of talking to the sheriff and see if we could get some assistance with him. And so I met with him, explained our predicament to him, and came up with a plan where his deputies could cover animal complaints for 2 days, 2 different Sundays while I was gone, so that Lisa didn't have to work the entire time I was gone without having a break. And so Mr. Ernest agreed to provide that. And not only that, but he met with Chief Woody also and got buy-in from him also. And so for 2 Sundays while I was gone, the sheriff and the Belvedere Police Department covered the field services aspect of animal services here in Boone County. So my thanks to you, sir, for making that happen. It means a lot to me. I know it meant a lot to Lisa also. Appreciate it.
We arrested 3 dogs and 2 cats.
Was it Robin and Sparrow?
They did go out to something. I'm not sure which department it was, but they did have at least one call that I've heard of to go to. Any questions?
Any questions for Rick? Go ahead, Sherry.
Yeah, during the time you were gone, I had talked to your girls about the dead coyotes and fox and all that over there on the creek.
On the creek, yep.
Yeah, did that ever get resolved?
Yes, ma'am. We got another call within a couple of days of me coming back, and I went out there and then I found them. I went to another call that was more pressing, and I called the 911 center who notified me and told them I was going to go back to the office in a little bit and call the fire department and see if they were willing to come out there and play lifeguard while I drug them out into the tree line. And when I came back to the shelter a little while later after the other call and called the fire department, the person I talked to said, well, my guys just got back from taking care of it. So my understanding is that when I got off the phone with the 911 center, they had called the fire department for me. So they were removed from the creek.
Did they ever find out if they'd been poisoned or what? Because we know that the ones that I had the pictures of had been thrown there.
I'm not sure exactly what their demise was. My guess would probably be that somebody shot them and then just threw them over the bridge.
Okay. Have you, by any chance, talked to Dan Kane over at Conservation Department?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, give him a call about those, would you please?
Okay.
Yeah, because that's on their creeks and that's Boone County.
But they're not on the creek anymore.
Okay,
I'll talk to them.
okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Mr. Riley?
Can you do anything about the skunks on Pearl Street?
I bet.
My dog got blasted about 2 weeks ago, and I'm telling you, it's like every night of the week they wake us up.
I don't know if it was on Pearl or Union or one of them.
Yeah, that's
I was
the
out,
section I live on, yeah.
I was out there within the last week or two and got a skunk.
Yeah, they got hit in the road.
We do respond to sick or injured wildlife complaints. If they're healthy, they go on about their business. We will occasionally relocate them depending on what kind of attention they're getting. Sometimes it's easier for the animal to give it a ride somewhere else than to let people harass it. So,
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Well, I don't want to prolong this, but just a quick story. When I was a zoning enforcement officer, they got a special use out in the county for, say, 50, 60 cats in a facility. And some neighbors were complaining, so I had to go out there. And I go in this building, and of course, can you see you're walking in there, and these cats are running all over? Probably might have been 100. And I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you can't count them. It's moving all over. And I told her she had too many cats under her special use. She started crying, got mad, went in and got her husband. He come out, and he wouldn't have it with me, but it's just things that you go through in your positions. And I'll always remember that. So I'll stop right there because we've been prolonging this longer. Thank you.
Any questions in the boardroom or on the phone?
Cat house.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rick.
thanks for your time. Thanks.
Moving on to a written monthly departmental report and updates. Anybody have anything to add? Time to do so. Moving on to new business. Item 9.1, I make a motion to, I need a motion, right?
Yep.
I need a motion to approve claims with the understanding that Carl Johnson abstains from voting on all claims presented by William Charles and all claims presented from Corin, Maine, and all claims submitted by Boone County Highway Department. Bill Robertson abstains from voting on all claims presented by B. Robertson Lock Service.
Oh, so moved.
Motion made by Sherry Gieske, seconded by Ray Larson. All those discussion? All those in favor?
Oh, we have to have roll call.
Yeah, oh, that's.
Yeah, roll call.
Yeah, roll call, I'm sorry.
Carl Johnston, yes. Sherry Gieske?
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey?
Aye.
Ray Larson?
Aye.
Steve Schubacher? Ryan Curry?
Yes.
Tom Walberg?
Yes.
Bill Robertson?
Yes.
Jerry Bartelt?
Yes.
Rodney Riley?
Yes.
Freddie De La Trinidad?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 9.2, I need a motion to approve ordinance 22-03, planning case MA 04-2022 con rezoning. So moved. Motion made by Ray Larson, seconded by Sherry Gieske. Discussion?
You need to just have some presentation by staff.
No. Shoot.
Thank you. So I do have a presentation. My PowerPoint. Thank you. All right. So if you want to follow along, I have some aerials and stuff. So this site is located in southeast corner of Illinois Route 76 and Woodstock Road. It is located in Belvedere Township. Currently, it's open ag land. The site is approximately 2.32 acres and it is zoned A1 Agricultural Preservation District. The applicant is seeking a rezoning from A1 Agricultural Preservation District to Commercial District to allow one of these things as listed in their application. So an off-premise advertising sign, a gas station, or a commercial building of some sort. So when I looked at the zoning, I saw that, as you can see, it is surrounded by A1, but there is a commercial district adjacent to this property, and it is the B1 General Business District. The B1 General Business District is intended for limited retail sales, really intended for local residents. It is actually the least intense of the commercial districts. When I looked at the comprehensive plan, I also found that the area has a future intended use of commercial, and it is actually a mix of commercial, residential, and agricultural. Here's an aerial of that. As you can see, the site there has the star, and so you see the commercial uses on either side, and commercial districts as well as residential nearby. And just to further show the surrounding area, so our site is in the middle and the commercial districts are located approximately 250 feet away, and the closest and then to the east is a commercial use 1,000 feet away, and then a residence approximately 842 feet away, but of course it is closer already to a commercial district that's actually adjacent to it, as you saw in the zoning map. And here are just some photographs that I took looking across the street northeast to the commercial. It's like an RV commercial district area, and then looking east towards the other area nearby. So when I looked at the zoning ordinance, I listed out the uses that are being proposed with the rezoning. Off-premise advertising sign would be permitted. The gas station, however, would not be. And it really depends on what type of commercial building the applicant would like to put. It depends on whether it would be permitted. It may require a special use permit, or it may not be permitted at all. During the conversation at ZBA, there was also a question from the applicant if he could do some sort of storage. Unfortunately, in B1, that would not be permitted. With that said, other agencies did review this proposal. There were no concerns with it, except that building permits would be required for any type of use, including if there is an advertising sign that is put up. There could be a variance that's requested for the size, since there are limitations to the size of signs. The Boone County Soil and Water Conservation District also had a favorable recommendation, but they did have concerns with erosion control. Therefore, an IEPA NPDES permit would be required if there is any type of disturbance on over an acre of the property. And so that's just the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit, which addresses water pollution. And actually, this site is right off of a road that's under the jurisdiction of Illinois Department of Transportation. Therefore, any access, any driveway would have to be requested from them. They are aware. I sent them the project, and then the applicant is also aware of that. I also wanted to mention that any type of commercial use or development that would be here on this property would require a commercial site plan review and would be required to abide by the commercial building codes. And this would be actually regardless of zoning. It just is based on the use of the building and of the site. And that would also come with a review by the Boone County Highway Engineer to ensure proper stormwater runoff. So at the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting, which is a public hearing, there was a public comment as well as a letter that was submitted, which is also attached in the documents, with concerns with traffic and congestion concerns. There was a concern that there are no commercial uses or districts in the area, and there was questions about future projects along Illinois Route 76. So during the discussion, we made clear that traffic, access, and future projects are at the discretion and jurisdiction of the Illinois Department of Transportation. So as I mentioned, they are aware of the project, and if the applicant would like an access or a driveway, they would have to apply for a permit. IDOT reviews that, and based on whatever project is going on, it may or may not be possible. And again, the applicant is aware. And as you saw from the zoning map, as well as the comprehensive plan map, there are commercial uses and districts in the area, as well as a designation of commercial future intended use in the comprehensive plan. So the findings of fact for this are different. So what we look at for a rezoning is, what are the existing uses in the surrounding area? So as you saw, they are as there are commercial uses in the area. What are the zoning classifications in the area? As you saw, the amendment would be compatible as there are commercial zonings in the area, that general business district. What are the suitability of the uses under the current district? So none of the uses that the applicant is proposing would be permitted in A1 Agricultural Preservation District, and one of them would be permitted with the zoning. What is the trend of development in the area? The general trend is a mix of agricultural, commercial, as you saw. Commercial zoning is less than 139 feet away to either side and 1,000 feet to the other side, excuse me. Is the proposed zoning consistent with the comprehensive plan? The future intended use is commercial, as you saw from the comprehensive plan map, therefore it would be consistent. Staff is recommending in favor of this rezoning.
Any questions and discussion? I have a question. The roundabouts are going to be placed here, and we talked about redirecting these roadways right here. I mean, Justin, maybe you have to answer this question. If this isn't going to be a commercial building, clearly it's a gas station, I'm assuming, or I guess that maybe that's a bad assumption, but for 2 acres, it'd be hard to see a commercial building go there.
Right. So,
but I'm assuming that's what the point of this is.
Right. So Mr. Khan and I discussed what type of commercial use he might want there. Gas station would not be possible with the rezoning, so he cannot have that.
Oh, it's not?
Huh?
It's not part of that?
It was his, one of the ideas that he wanted to put, right? So this is a rezoning, which means we're changing the zoning district. Any of the uses that are permitted in B1 could potentially go there. Of course, that all depends on access, parking, what commercial building is going to go there. Is there disturbance to greater than 1 acre? Are they going to be able to apply for that permit and get it approved? All those things come into play. So one of his suggested uses was gas station, not permitted in B1, so that's out. The other one was storage, not permitted in B1, so that's out. So right now he's looking at either the advertising sign and a commercial building in the future, which again would depend on all these things that we're talking about, including access.
Okay. Any questions in the boardroom or on the phone?
So just clarification. So you think that's the intent here is for a sign? Just want to make it noted, the letter from the neighbor was written from his attorney, not the neighbor. If that means anything, he's obviously sought legal attention on this.
Mr. Chairman?
That objection letter was from Schumacher's, right next to it. They had that commercial development right there that has been I guess, an issue from time to time in the county. So how odd.
Yeah.
How ironic, I guess, would be the term. I do have some concerns based on just where this is and access and changing this parcel. As you said that it's on 76, that's its only roadway access. So IDOT would be the ones that would determine whether or not they could have any even access to the roadway. I guess, Justin, can I ask you a question on this, Justin? Would you feel comfortable giving us some additional knowledge? Considering the way this parcel sits on this curve, small entrance zone, basically, do you think the IDOT would even give them access?
Yeah, so when Izzy passed this on to me, that was my initial concern, and I asked that it be passed along to IDOT, and it sounds like it has been to those folks at IDOT that I requested. I've seen in past situations similar to this, I've seen this kind of thing happen, and I'm not saying this is the case here, but when IDOT goes to negotiate future right-of-way expansions and needs, if you tend to, and again, this is just what I've seen in the past, not saying it's happening here. If your land is zoned commercial rather than, is it agriculture right now or? Okay. So if your land's zoned commercial rather than agriculture, you're in a better position to negotiate land acquisition. You know, like I said, I don't know that that's the case here, but I've seen this often. That was my initial thought when I saw this, because you're absolutely right. In the situation for access on here does not improve with the current plan that IDOT has. So, yeah, yeah, that's the information that I see and have. So yeah, what you see right now with access, it's certainly not great, and it does not improve.
So we've sent information to IDOT asking their opinions on this. Is this something we have to act on tonight, or can we wait until we get the information from IDOT?
So Illinois Department of Transportation and I did have back and forth. They had no further concerns except that there may be something going on in the future that may result in a rejection of the access permit. But since Mr. Khan doesn't know exactly when he's going to start, they just asked that access be requested. So that was all the correspondence I received, and to just keep them updated on what's happening.
And they didn't seem to see any issues with the access issues here. I mean, I think it's a bad spot. That's
very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a crazy spot to try and squeeze a driveway in. So I have, and I understand if it were all part of the bigger parcel, then I wouldn't have an issue with it, but. Okay.
But just.
And I believe that IDOT, you know, given their situation and given what's a zoning change, they probably did not, and correct me if I'm wrong, they probably did not and would not make a statement on access at this point, you know, so that would come later. So, but I would agree 100% that, you know, there's going to be some significant issues with access on this property in the current case, and even more likely in the future condition if their plans go forward.
Any other questions or comments in the boardroom or on the phone? Go ahead, Sherry.
Justin, I guess this goes along with your saying, weren't we supposed to be getting, or isn't IDOT looking at this to put at least 1 or 2 roundabouts in that area?
That is correct, yes. So in fact, their current plan that they have funded through a federal grant is to put, in the photograph that you're seeing there, 2 intersections on Caledonia Road, or the 1 intersection on Caledonia Road, and then the intersection on Woodstock. They're currently funded to put, and I've seen some preliminary drawings to put a roundabout at each one of those intersections.
I thought.
And then a third one.
That wouldn't do this property any good whatsoever.
That's correct.
Wasn't there talk of realigning these 2 roads though? Is that out of the picture?
So yes, that was initiated locally by the county. I helped support that, and it was a real viable option. We took it to IDOT, and they were less supportive of it. And in fact, actually, we took it to IDOT saying that, hey, you know, eliminate 2 roundabouts, make it into 1 intersection, lower cost, you know, better safety. And they had the plan currently, phase 1, funded for 2 roundabouts at this location, actually 3, including the one south of here. So they did not respond positively to this, and it's their jurisdiction. So in fact, you know, the only county route on here is Caledonia Road, and we're at the intersection of 76. So we don't necessarily have control. I shouldn't say necessarily. We don't have control of these intersections.
Sure.
This is probably a question you cannot or will not answer. Does he already own this property?
He does own it.
He does own it already?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have one.
Go ahead, Dave.
It's more of a comment. The first, under the conclusion, the 5th bullet point shows things that aren't permitted, and the 3rd one talks about not the 3rd bullet. Now we're talking about point 3. You know, it's not suitable for A1, and I don't think what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think that the point of rezoning has been made adequately at this time. I think there's too many questions with this. It is a tight intersection with a lot of curve and high speed. And at this point, I'm not convinced that this is something we should support.
Clarify. So we are discussing, right, the rezoning, not particularly the use. Yes, any of the uses in B1 could potentially go there, but so can an advertising sign. And we don't need an access or driveway for that for people. But I just want to make sure that everybody's clear that we're doing the rezoning, so the district would change, but we're not actually talking about approving a use is what I wanted to make sure to clarify.
Thank you, Izzy.
That's a good point.
Go ahead, Mr. Larson.
I appreciate that comment, but if we rezone it, I'm not convinced at this point. I'm sorry, but perhaps, well, this is all the information we have before us at this time. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. Sounds like you almost might be getting limited here to a sign. What are the maximum like dimensions of a sign that would be allowed in this area? If you could refresh us with that.
So there is a square footage limit to a sign, and that would go through the building and zoning for a permit. Let me see if I can pull it up right now. So no individual sign shall exceed 200 square feet per face. So 200 square feet one side and 200 square feet on the other.
10 by 20.
Thank you.
And we did discuss the advertising sign that would potentially be larger, and that's why building and zoning suggested the variance because that is an available option, maybe required.
Any other questions or comments?
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the 7, 11, 10 little things I can tap on here to read. Where is the, what happened before the ZBA in terms of the evidence?
So I put the information from the ZBA in the cover page, which should be the first attachment under the agenda item.
Could it be like the other guy trying to go back and try to get the change?
But there's not much there about what was presented or testified in front of the ZBA. That's what I'm asking.
That's what he commented.
Do we have any of that documentation, Izzy?
What documentation are you looking for?
The ZBA in minutes?
Minutes are not available yet, but the letter that was submitted is attached to the documents. The letter from the adjacent property owner. And then.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
The letter.
The letter that was submitted?
That was submitted by the adjacent property owner is attached in the documents.
Yes, I saw that and read that.
Okay.
I'm just talking about what was, what testimony, if any, was adduced at the ZBA.
Oh, I just talk in general terms, the concerns that came up, which were traffic congestion and projects along Illinois Route 76.
Thank you.
Carl?
Izzy, I see the ZBA voted in favor of it 3-zip. Did they, I guess, can you enlighten us a little bit on what their feeling was with these issues with congestion and being in such a bad spot?
Yeah, so they did discuss that briefly, but as Justin pointed out, there really is nothing that we have any control over in terms of access because IDOT gives that. When we discuss the other commercial districts in the area, well, there really are other commercial districts in the area, and the comprehensive plan also has that whole area as commercial. So all of those things lined up, And that was the general consensus, like, okay, this is kind of a weird spot, but a sign could really go there. All the other ones that he's proposing may not be, are not permitted in the area or in the site with the rezoning. That was just the general.
And then, as I recall, and from the pictures, it's not really farmed right now, is it? It's pretty much just scrap land, really. I mean, it's not.
It's like overgrown. The applicant is on the line, but he did mention that he was going to go clean it up because, yeah, it's not crop or anything.
It does make sense for the area and with everything else that's around it to be zoned in that. And it goes along with our comprehensive plan too. So all things to consider.
Basically.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, are
Just
we
one second.
talking about parcel
One second,
identified as
Dave. Dave, let's see, 1 second. Sherry Bartelt has the floor.
Okay, sorry.
I'm just looking at this and he basically wants to put up possibly a sign there.
Right.
And it can go up to 20 foot.
It can be
10 by 20.
200 square feet.
200 square feet on one side and 200 square feet on the other
Without rezoning, correct?
with the rezoning.
That's the reason.
Otherwise, an advertising sign off premise would not be permitted in A1.
Because that just, even for a sign, considering where you have one road coming in, another road coming on, a possibility of a roundabout coming in, and then put a sign there and people see the sign as they're going by, that's an accident waiting to happen.
Dave Wiltsey, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but I'm looking at the aerial photograph. Are we talking about parcel 10668 as it's identified? Or are we talking about 300-018 on the other side of Route 76? Or are we talking about the corner spot, which is 10568?
We're talking about the
We're
300.
talking about the parcel 300-010.
It's 018.
Oh, I'm sorry.
018.
Yes. 2.32 acres.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Riveting manner. With that, I think, are we going to, all those in favor to move? Or did you want to delay and?
Whatever. Well, we've heard, I mean.
The motion's been made, it's been seconded. All those in favor to move this?
Go ahead.
To the county board for approval, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
No.
I think we need to go to.
Roll call. All right, and I lose it. An aye is an aye and a nay is a nay. Carl Johnson, aye. Sherry Gieske.
Yes.
Dave Wiltsey.
No.
Ray Larson.
No.
Steve Schabacher.
Aye.
Ryan Curry.
Yes.
Tom Wahlberg.
No.
Bill Robertson.
Aye.
Sherry Bartelt.
No.
Rodney Riley.
No.
Freddie De La Trinidad.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries 6, yes.
All right, moving on to 9.3. Need a motion to approve ordinance 22-04, planning case SUP-05-2022 Amoresco Solar Special Use.
I have a question. Is this the one they want to split up into two?
Motion first.
So.
Yeah, we need a motion.
Motion's made by Ray Larson.
Second.
Seconded by Steve Schabacher. Izzy?
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Actually, Amoresco, who is the applicant, and I had a discussion on this project, and there's new information that has been introduced. So this is a special use permit for a solar energy project of 1 megawatt or greater, which does require a special use permit. At this time, there has been some new information that has been submitted, new documents, information, and site plans. So staff is recommending that the committee actually refer the case back to ZBA so that ZBA can consider this new information.
I'd make that motion.
So moved. Second.
It has to be an amendment to the first motion.
Got a motion.
Amendment.
I'll amend the motion to move it back to ZBA.
A motion has been made
Second.
by Carl Johnson, seconded by Dave Weltsey, to move back
Yes.
to ZBA for resubmission or approval.
For further discussion.
Further discussion. I have a list. I apologize.
Discussion.
Although discussion on that.
Is this the landfill property?
Yes. Correct. It is a landfill property. All right. I was looking through the map on here.
What is the issue?
There has been new information, new site plans. The project is actually going to be split, so we need to review those new site plans.
Izzy?
Oh,
This is
yeah.
Tricia. Oh,
Go ahead, Tricia.
just reviewing the code, I'm not sure if the committee could refer this back. I think it has to go to the full county board to then refer back. Because when the code was written, we didn't have committee of the whole. We just had the planning and zoning commission, or I'm sorry, committee.
That being said, we need to,
Could refer, but not the committee as a whole. Okay.
well, then I guess we need to withdraw the amendment.
So moved.
Moved by Carl Johnson. Dave Wiltsey, do you second your withdrawal?
Or remove your
No,
withdrawal?
I don't.
Your
No, I don't. I have a question for the state's attorney. Then that leaves us with a thumbs up or thumbs down, and with new information being available, it just seems difficult to vote yes to send it forward, or no to deny it.
Well, no matter what, it goes to the full board. Even if the committee would deny it, it goes to the full board. And until this issue came up, it didn't occur to change this section of the code, but that would be something maybe that the board could address in the future, to have a step in here that the committee could send it back, the committee of the whole, because that makes more sense.
Can we move to table it?
Well, I don't think it's moved to table it. I don't, it does need to go to, either way, it would go to the full board.
Right. So we still need that second withdrawn.
Tricia, can we just?
I will not.
Tricia, can we just not act on this and just have it go to the full board and act on it at the full board to send it back?
Yeah, that would be my recommendation to, yes, send it to, or it would go on the full board agenda, and then it would be sent back from there.
So we could just skip over it because it's not relevant at this point.
Well, you can't, yes, you could send, the committee is, it's not necessary for the committee to approve or disapprove to put it on the agenda for the full board.
Correct. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll withdraw my motion to amend.
But the second is not withdrawn.
Second.
Doesn't know.
I
Okay.
withdraw.
Okay. Thank you, Dave Wiltsey. The amendment has been withdrawn. All those in favor? Sorry. Go ahead, Sherry.
I just had a question. Is this the one that they want to put over the, it used to be the old dump out there? This is one we've been trying to get the solar farm on top of it, so we got some use out of that area? That's what I thought.
Well, and I don't think that we're trying to say that it's not going to be approved. I think that the applicant made a substantial change to the project after it went to ZBA, where testimony was heard. So that could, it may not make a difference in this case, but it could make a difference in a different case. And we need to be consistent with how we follow the rules and, make sure that we're properly following procedure.
All right, thank you.
So we need a withdrawal of the original motion and a withdrawal of the original second.
We need a
We don't have to vote on those because they're withdrawing those motions.
Withdraw the original motion.
Those motions have been withdrawn.
And we need, who seconded that? Mr. Shabaka, you seconded that. Do you withdraw that second?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Those both being withdrawn and then.
Yeah, so we'll push this to the full board agenda so everybody knows, and we can vote at that time to send it back to ZBA for further consideration and review.
All right. Item 9.4, I need a motion to approve ordinance 22-05. Planning case SUP-06-2022 Sunvest Solar Special Use 1.
So moved.
Motion made by Ray Larson.
Second.
Seconded by Bill Robertson. Izzy?
Thank you. I wanted to say that the next two projects, which are agenda item 9.4 and 9.5, are on the same exact parcel. So the same information applies. These are two co-located projects that are split between east and west. Again, one parcel holds them both. And I also want to make a note that 9.5 should be SUP-07-2022, Chairman Curry. Okay, so the site is located in Boone Township, south of US Route 20. It is currently agricultural in use. The total parcel area is 42.48 acres, but the project area is 30.5. The zoning is A1 Agricultural Cultivation District, and as you have heard, these are two projects, two individual LLCs. So the first site plan we're going to look at is SVCSG Garden Parade 1 LLC, which is SUP-06-2022. So this is the east side of the project. As you can see from the site plan is meeting setbacks. It is fenced and most importantly screened when it is towards the north of the project. This project is utilizing approximately 13.5 acres. So again, for both, it's a total of 30.5 approximately. This project is set back 550 feet from the right-of-way, approximately 240 feet from the residence that you see here up north of the project. A similar project was approved by County Board in 2018, and this is a 2 megawatt project. This site plan is the west side, SVCSG Garden Parade 2 LLC, which corresponds with SUP-07-2022. Same idea, meeting setbacks, no concrete for support. It is going to be galvanized steel beams. This will be utilizing the other half of the total project, 13.5 acres. Again, a similar project was approved in this area by County Board in 2018, 2 megawatt, 550 away from the right of way. So just some quick project information. In 2018, a similar project was approved by County Board with conditions, and we are proposing the same conditions in a reorganized way. These are photovoltaic solar panels, which are tracking. They are silent and not moving at night. And this is a community solar project, previously part of the lottery and now up for the first round of funding. So I wanted to take a look at the surrounding area. So our here and the residence is directly north. We do have various uses in the area. Susan's garden patch is up here. We have an industrial zoned site to the west. And here's just for reference our industrial zone here. And then we also have a mix of industrial, commercial, residential towards the east. So this is a energy facility of 1 megawatt or greater. As you heard, it is 2 megawatts each project. Therefore, they require a special use permit. We did have a pre-application meeting, and building and zoning will have to review the permits and the conditions if approved. There's a roundtable discussion with the applicant when they're ready to get their permits, and we will go through the entire conditions list and make sure that they are meeting all the conditions, including a landscaping plan, including a decommissioning plan. The Boone County Soil and Water Conservation District did vote in favor, or with a favorable recommendation on this project. So Planning Commission did look at the comprehensive plan. The future intended use is agricultural. Agricultural does have a variety of intended uses, including agritourism. It would not be in conflict with the future land use as regulations are in place to bring the site back to its original state through the decommissioning. Some comprehensive plan goals and objectives that could be met. investment back into the community or into the county, as well as promoting the use of alternative energy, which is Chapter 4. And again, the Boone County Planning Commission did vote in favor 3-0 on February 18th. So at zoning board, which is the public hearing, there were some public comment questions regarding screening. Another question was what will happen to the remaining approximately 13 acres that are surrounding the residence, and will the adjacent property owners' taxes rise? So during the discussion and based on the site plan as well as the conditions, the site will be screened as well as fenced. The remaining approximately 13 acres will be farmed. The taxes are not expected to rise because of the solar panel, which is actually on the other parcel to the south. And ZBA did have a discussion and recommended a change in the financial assurance for decommissioning to include 100% financial assurance upfront to include salvage value. So for both SUP 06-2022 and SUP 07-2022, the zoning board voted and approved 3-0 to change condition number 5.4A, and that was the 100% decommissioning assurance upfront to include salvage value. And they voted and approved 3-0 the findings of fact as presented, and they voted 3-0 to recommend this project and move it forward. Staff is recommending approval of both cases with the conditions as amended by ZBA.
Any questions for Izzy?
I have two questions.
Go ahead, Tom.
If you can go back to the map. Right there. I'm sorry. What is it? So two questions. First being, what is the purple area?
Industrial.
And your other map you showed, I thought industrial to the east or not? Or is that the industrial you were referring to in that other map?
Yep. So there's industrial here, and this is the comprehensive plan. So if we go to the current zoning map, sorry, let's see here.
I thought you highlighted a property east of there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So here's our zoning map right here. And then, yes, there are some there is another industrial site over here just out of view because this is as you're entering Garden Prairie. And I didn't mean to confuse you, but yes, there's another industrial site down the road.
Between there and Garden Prairie Road?
Yes, right here.
Oh, you had it on the map there before. That might be a different map. It was like the second farm over on that other map.
So maybe you're thinking about the other map for the other case?
No.
So it's actually approximately a half a mile away from the site. So the site is right here. Half a mile away this way is industrial, commercial, residential. This is the other industrial site that I was talking about. Other map.
What is that there you just circled? That's probably what it was there.
This?
No, that previous map. There. What is that?
This?
Yes.
This is an industrial site next to our subject property, which is right here.
Is it blown up?
Plan in it, Carl.
Okay, so that's blown up. That's the towing you're saying right there.
That's the old ComEd plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking there was a second.
Sorry.
I apologize. I was thinking there was a second one east.
That's a total.
It's blown up. Got it. Sorry.
I have a question, Izzy. So the original project was approved in 2018.
Yes.
And they added to it.
They expanded the site a little bit, yes.
It's I mean, for as much as people in this county love their ag land, that is a move made that I don't know.
And they're not paying for the
You're getting closer to the road and closer to homes. I don't like it because it's on ag land in itself, but then to get greedy and add to it, move it closer to the road, closer to a residence is what I have a problem with as well. Any other questions or comments?
Any objections from the resident?
So the resident that lives right here, right north of the project did come and they had questions about screening as well as whether their taxes would be going up because of the project. And that really wouldn't be the case. It would be screened. They were wanting to make sure that the property around it, so the remaining 13 acres would be farmed, and it is the intention of the property owner to continue to farm.
Sure.
If my memory serves correctly, last month when we had a solar farm on Rundle Road, Bonus Township submitted a statement of disapproval. I don't see one here for this one.
Yeah, I have not heard from Bonus Township, but they did receive this project proposal.
Thanks, Sis.
I did reach out to Superintendent Davis, and there was no negative feedback, just to share publicly. The developer is here.
Carl, go ahead. You had a question?
No, if we want to hear from the applicant, that's.
My question to the applicant is, did you reach out to the neighbor?
Yes, we did. I made several attempts to reach out to them. They did not return my calls, but once we were at the zoning board meeting, I did introduce myself and we did talk after the meeting as well. So I did try to reach them.
What was their response?
They were just wanting to understand what was going on, and they wanted to make sure that there was still screening, which we're still proposing, and they were questioning also what was going to happen around the balance of the property. And we assured them that it would continue to be farmed. And then that stand of trees just to the east of their home would stay. There's no intention to remove that either.
Thank you. Any questions for the, any comments? Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
I just think it's worth noting that the Planning Commission and the ZBA both voted unanimously in support of this project. So it's in an area that's at some point gonna grow and become industrial or commercialized. So I have no problem with this project. It seems like a good fit.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That being said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
No.
Aye. We need to move to a vote.
We can do a roll call.
Roll call.
Do a roll call. This is for 9.4 SUP 06-2022. Carl Johnson, yes. Sherry Gieske.
No.
Dave Wiltsey.
Yes.
Ray Larson.
Aye.
Steve Schabacher.
Yes.
Ryan Curry.
No.
Tom Wahlberg.
Yes.
Bill Robertson.
Yes.
Sherry Bartelt.
Yes.
Rodney Riley.
No.
Freddie De La Trinidad.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Yes, sir.
Moving on to 9.5, I need a motion to approve ordinance 22-06, planning case 07. Okay. Restate. I need a motion to approve ordinance 22-07, planning case SUP-07-2022, Sunvest Solar Special Use 2.
I'm sorry, the case is 07, but the ordinance is 06. Sorry.
Okay. I'm going to say that again before the motion's made. I need a motion to approve ordinance 22-07, planning case SUP-06-2022, Sunvest Solar Special Use 2.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Freddie De La Trinidad, seconded by Sherry Bartelt.
So this is the second half of the same exact project. The same information applies. If you have any additional questions.
Any questions? None seeing. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed?
No.
No.
Motion carries. 9.6, I need a motion to approve the purchase of a wheel loader from Low Better Alta Equipment Company in the amount of $191,585.
So moved.
Motion made by Sherry Gieske, seconded by Bill Robertson. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 9.7, I need a motion to approve ordinance 22-07, allowing the county treasurer to adopt a single bidder rule for the annual tax sale.
So moved.
Motion made by Ray Larson,
Second.
Seconded by Sherry Gieske. Kurt?
Good evening, everyone, and I feel like I'm outmatched here tonight. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation for you, although I did just email Dan a picture of a really cute Great Dane puppy. If he wants to put it on the screen, that's up to him. I'll try to explain this and not take all night doing it. The annual tax sale where we sell tax liens on delinquent property, it's supposed to be a competitive auction. The tax buyers bid an interest rate, and the tax buyer that bids the lowest interest rate gets that parcel, he pays the taxes, and then the property owner redeems it, he gets paid interest based on that bid. The problem in the last few years has become the interest rates, generally speaking, the interest rate environment is so low that these tax buyers are bidding 0% interest on most of the parcels. Now, that doesn't make sense on the surface, a 0% investment. There are some other ways that they can make some money on some of these parcels as tax buyers. I won't go into that. I mean, I can explain it if you really want me to, but that's not really germane. The fact is, the vast majority of parcels at last fall's tax sale went for 0%, which means that the tax sale is no longer a competitive sale. It now becomes a matter of chance when I have 20, 25 tax buyers in a room and they're all bidding zero all at the same time. The best I can do is to try to spread it around and keep it fair amongst the tax buyers and try to, distribute them equitably. The tax buyers have figured out in this situation that if they, you have tax buying companies, they're all basically companies. If they bring 3, 4, 5 people as bidders to the tax sale, then they're going to get more parcels than if they only bring one. So a company might be, 5 of 24 tax buyers rather than being 1 of 20 tax buyers. And it just improves their odds. And it's gotten to the point where it's kind of ridiculous. We had last fall of 5 tax buyers registered for the sale. They all showed up in the same car. They signed in and they all got their share of parcels. And then when it was all over, the guy who claims to own all 5 companies asked me to put, all of the certificates in the same name, which that didn't work. But anyway, last year, the legislature provided a way to kind of put the kibosh on this and allowed counties our size to for treasurers to create a single bidder rule, and but it has to be done by ordinance. So this ordinance proposed would allow me to do just that. And it's basically all done according to the statute, the way it was written. And I'll just be happy to answer any questions.
Sherry?
I'm glad you explained that because I couldn't wrap my head around single bidder. So now I understand it. So one company, one bidder.
Right.
Okay, I got it.
Are they doing that now? How? Tell me this. How did they do that when they had 5 bidders per the company and then asked you to do that and you told them no? Then what did they do?
So they were registered as 5 different companies, but they're all owned by the same person or the same umbrella company, if you will.
So they can't do that still?
Well, the certificate has to be issued in the name that they're registered under. Okay, so the certificates were issued in 5 different names. They create LLCs and they create some company name. And the certificate has to be issued in that name. Now, the guy who owns those companies, he can have those certificates transferred to a different company. There's a $10 fee involved per parcel. So if he wants to pay that fee, then he can certainly get that done.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Or any on the phone? Thank you, Kurt.
Yeah. So may I ask?
Go ahead,
Dave Wiltsey. So this gives you the authority, Kurt, to adopt a single bidder rule that has not been drafted yet?
That's correct. I've not actually drafted a rule yet. The statute, the way the statute is worded, it's the treasurer's responsibility to create the rule. It's the treasurer's responsibility to determine who, is in compliance with that rule or not. I have talked to, this was actually mandated in larger counties last year, and I've spoken with, and I've gotten their, from those treasurers in larger counties, I have their rules that I can go over and use, as templates, so to speak.
Okay, so you have some model rules to work with.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? That being said, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Same sign. Motion carries. Item 9.8 raffles. We have one for St. John's United Church of Christ, one for American Legion Boone Post 77, and one for Belvedere USPC Association. They've all been signed. 10 international governmental reports and updates. Landfill, do we have anything to add?
Not tonight.
Nothing. Section 11, informational items and other business, correspondence. That you want to report on?
There's a couple items on here tonight for the county board. One of the things that I wanted to point out, we received a letter from the city of Belvedere about the Logan Avenue rehabilitation project. So they're going to start actually here pretty quickly working on Logan Avenue from I believe it's Belvedere Road right out here, or the E-by, I guess, all the way into State Street. And so from the county's perspective, we are working with the city to ensure that we're aware of the schedule. We want to make sure that we have access for employees, but also for residents as well during the construction, throughout the construction project. And there was an open house on Tuesday night that I attended and just spoke with them a little bit. And we'll, as we hear more, we'll keep the board updated on the project and its impact. So.
Excellent. Thank you, Dan. Go ahead.
Just one other thing that's in the correspondence there, and Julie touched on it earlier, was this bill that's gone through the Illinois State Senate, is now in the House on a judicial fee that's for, I think there's 3 counties. Is that what it is? Kendall and I don't know. That's also I can't read it now. Kane.
It's currently Kane and Will already have the ability to do this fee. So this bill would add Kendall County.
It never ceases to amaze me how short-sighted our legislature can be in that if you're going to amend this, first of all, why would they ever create a stipulation that says 2 counties and impose a fee to help pay for a new courthouse, basically? Why would they not give every county in the state that same ability is beyond me. But in their infinite wisdom, they decided to add 1 county. If the board is willing, I would like to have a letter drafted that I can send to our local representatives to say, look, offer this to everybody. It only makes sense. You know, if people are coming and you're adding a $30 fee to a civil case because they're there for a civil case, it's just a way that we can help fund or partially fund a new judicial facility. If we had to build a new courthouse, you're talking $30 to $50 million probably, just depending on what you put in. So, I guess I'll throw that out there. If nobody objects to it, then I'd like to put together a letter to send to our representatives, encouraging them.
Mr. Chairman, if that's a motion, I second it.
Well, we can't have a motion just because it's not on the agenda to have a motion. But if nobody objects, then we'll gladly do it.
Dan has something first.
No objection.
Just as maybe a suggestion for the county board, the way that the language in this bill is written right now, it's really specific to a new facility. And so, Boone, we have the second oldest operating courthouse facility in the state. And so Boone County, the county board would like staff to draft a letter. May I suggest flexibility, so not just a new facility, but also potentially renovations to existing facility as well.
Absolutely. I think so.
Yes.
Sherry Deesky?
I absolutely agree that we need to do something, and thank you, Dan, on that. But my concern is they don't read stuff, so what difference does it make? But we got to keep trying, I guess.
Okay.
Good idea.
Let's work on that, Dan, and we can draft that together.
Moving on to 11.3, board member comments. Any comments in the boardroom? Any on the phone? We don't have any reason to go into executive session. No, no reason to go into executive session.
To adjourn.
And, motion has been made to adjourn by Carl Johnson and seconded by Tom Wahlberg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.